All right, what's up, everybody? Sorry, this is a little bristle toothbrush. It's all natural. I don't know. But yeah, so breaking news, Venezuela is at 2 a.m. literally, the government created like the Call of Duty mission, Black Ops. We're all sleeping 2 a.m. They go in with B-12 bombers. We're about to get into this live stream where they're all, bragging about it and talking about it. But regardless, they bomb the shit out of Venezuela. They go in, they capture the president and his wife to be questioned in a New York court for drug smuggling. And what they're saying, the whole thing this is behind is fentanyl. They're saying that Venezuela is bringing fentanyl into the country. And, maybe true, maybe not, but I don't think that's the reason behind the war. I think there's probably, or I can't really call it a war yet, but it's probably going to be a war. Let's just get into this, and if anybody has any questions, and we'll talk about it. But this is a real life event.
Very unfair situation that happened to him. He's also a party member of the man who won. So obviously the people liked what I did. And one of the reasons that was done is because of the fact that the party in power felt very strongly that that man was treated very badly. I studied it very quickly, and then I studied it in great detail. I went to a lot of the people standing behind me, and they felt that that man was persecuted and treated very badly. That's why I gave him a pardon.
Mr. President, you referenced boots on the ground earlier. Can you just sort of button this up? Do you envision the U.S. military having a presence in Venezuela as the U.S. runs that country?
Well, no, we're going to have a presence in Venezuela as it pertains to oil, because we have to have.
Yeah, no, yeah, I got a text at 3, 4 in the morning, and I wasn't awake yet, and I woke up at 8. It's the first thing I saw, and I was like, you got to be kidding me. Yeah, it's real. We did this, and on top of that, he just mentioned there's going to be presence in Venezuela. It's a regime change, is what Maduro. Okay, they're not a part of the world banking. Let's just say that. In 2007, they left the world banking. Their central bank is state-owned, right? And they have a lot of problems, sure. But one thing for sure is all wars are banker wars. They aren't a part of the world banking system. Maduro constantly goes against what everyone else is doing in terms of Israel and U.S. and NATO. It's a regime change. That's all it is. They want to change the regime. They don't like him. They've done it forever in Iraq, the Middle East, Cuba, Venezuela before, I'm pretty sure, Puerto Rico, just all over the place. If they don't like you, they're just going to regime change you.
Sending our expertise in, so you may need something, not very much. But no, we're going to be taking out a tremendous amount of wealth out of the ground. And that wealth is going to the people of Venezuela and people from outside of Venezuela that used to be in Venezuela. And it goes also to the United States of America in the form of reimbursement for the damages caused us by that country. So I want to thank you all very much. Thank you. Do you have one? Yes, please. You were so nice before. I'm going to give you the final question. Go
Thank
ahead.
you, Mr.
Unless
President.
it's a bad question, in which case I'll go one.
It's about Putin, if you want.
About Putin. Well,
Okay.
that's always nice.
You had a
to talk
phone.
about Putin.
You had a phone call with him on
Yeah.
Monday. Did he talk at all about Maduro? Did y'all talk about this?
No, we didn't.
And
We
then-
never spoke about Maduro.
Are you mad at him right now? I mean, there's this
I'm not
intelligence.
thrilled with Putin. I'm not thrilled with Putin. He's killing too many people.
There was that
I
intelligence.
thought that would be so. I settled 8 1/4 war. You know what the 1/4 was? Thailand and Cambodia. I did it again. They broke out, and I did it in about 5 hours, and I settled it. I'm giving myself 1/4, so I'm up to now 8 1/4. In other words, I settled the war, but then they broke out. They had a pretty bad breakout over the last 4 days. I got them to go back to peace. So I only give 1/4. I thought the easiest one would be, one of the easier ones would be Russia, Ukraine. It's not.
Trump is so hard to understand, like the way he talks. Is he saying that he made the peace and then they broke back into war, or is he saying that they were in war and then he made the peace? I don't know.
And they both have done some pretty bad things. And look, that's Biden's war. That's not my war. But I want to stop the lives. Did you see where last month 30,000? It was 27,000 the month before. 30,000, mostly soldiers, were killed this last month. 30,000. I want to stop that. You know, I got...
One thing I want to say is the excuse they're using is that fentanyl, the Venezuelan, and that's why Trump was attacking Venezuelan ships and all that. This thing, there has been some build up to this. This isn't like out of nowhere, you know, but even if Venezuelan ships, and especially government-sanctioned Venezuelan ships, like the government knew about it and was perhaps even ordering fentanyl into the country. I mean, if that's 100% proven, then maybe there's talk of invasion. But regardless, just don't let Venezuelan ships in. Just keep them off of the coast. You know, if like, make a declaration. If you get within this distance from our coast, you will be obliterated. You know what I mean? Like, and then that's legal and that's fair. But I don't think we should be invading. And we're going to get to the bottom of this for sure and get into more details. But that's my opinion so far.
To pay 5% instead of the 2% that they weren't paying. They weren't paying 2, now they pay 5. And we send them a lot of munitions, we send them a lot of things, missiles and various other things, a lot. And they pay. The United States is not losing money. We're probably making money on that. It's the last thing I care about. I just want to stop all those people. We're losing 25, 30,000 human beings. They come from 2 places that are very far away. But if I can stop, because it's something I've been pretty good at doing, deals, I guess. It's all a deal. Life is a big deal. But if I can stop that war and stop 30,000 young people, in addition to the fact that people are being killed in Kiev, people are being killed in other cities throughout, you know, a much smaller number, but they're being killed, viciously killed. So I'm not happy about it. I thought that would be something that would get solved. We have Mr. Witkoff here. I think that we're making progress, but that's a war that should have never happened. If I were president, it would have never happened. Putin says it. Everybody says it. If I were president, that would have never happened. But I inherited that war. That was Joe Biden, Zelensky, and Putin.
Does Putin say that if Trump was president, there wouldn't be a war in Ukraine? Got to look this up real quick, guys. Because how does that make any sense? Be no war if Trump was president. I can confirm that. Said if Trump had been... I don't get it. It makes no sense. So the whole point of the Russian war against Ukraine, at least from the Russian perspective, is that Ukraine used to be a part of Russia and they wanted it back. And you know, there's some history that goes into it, but I don't understand how Trump being in office would change that. So it's just kind of weird. I feel like Trump lies a lot.
And I will say this, I watched an operation last night that was so precise, that was so brilliant. I mean, it was incredible. If we had our people, like this general and our people involved, that war would not have gone on very long, that I can tell you.
You told me
That war, to use an old term, that war has become a bloodbath. And we wanted to get stopped. Thank you very much.
Concerned a rogue Venezuelan general to take over the country.
All right, so that's that. We joined in a little late on it, but they're calling him the President of Peace. And even there was a group of people that donated him a plaque that said Prince of Peace. And that's a title reserved for Jesus. And that group of people happened to be the group that rejected Jesus, but we don't need to get into that. The whole point is just that they're calling him Prince of Peace and President of Peace and the peacemaker. But since he's been in office, obviously the most recent thing is Venezuela, but pardoning war criminals and overall not very peaceful, bombing Venezuelan ships. You know, there's no declaration of war from Congress, and he's doing all this. Plus the attack on what was it, Iraq or Iran? I think it was Iran. Yeah, Iran just not too long ago, where Israel wanted us to bomb them, so we bombed them, right? And that was the like. So I wouldn't really call him a president of peace per se. And you know, he says that the Ukraine war is, he inherited that from Biden, and you know, if Putin even said, if though, like, he argues like in elementary school, you know what I mean? But regardless, I wouldn't call him a president of peace, and it's weird how they keep pushing that. I do want to see Texas leaders react to U.S. strikes on Venezuela, capture of Maduro, just because I'm interested in what Texas leaders have to say. I bet Abbott's probably very happy with it. Yeah, we'll see. Okay, Texas leaders react. Texas leaders reacted sharply after U.S. strikes in Venezuela and the reported capture of Nicolas Maduro. Republicans praised the move, calling Maduro illegitimate. Democrats questioned Trump's authority. Key details remain unknown, including Congress's role, casualties, and who now controls Venezuela. Now, we were on the end of that live stream. We didn't really catch all of it, but he literally said there will be American presence in Venezuela for the foreseeable future. For one, to get all the oil out of Venezuela, which that is theft. You know, we're stealing oil. And it's the same thing with Iraq. And actually, there was something. Let's actually go to it real quick. There was something on Instagram, and it showed the parallels between Iraq and the Iraq War, and this new. And I keep calling it a war because it's. Look at that. We are the terrorists. Yeah. Anyways, I keep calling it a war because I don't think you guys realize this is probably going to end up being war. The U.S. Air Force has deactivated all transponders. Not a single one of their flights can be seen on flight radar anymore. That's interesting. All right, let's go here. Is it? Oh, it's this one right here. All right.
Hit me with the works. Iraq, Venezuela. Go!
We're giving them full opportunity to do it the easy way. And when it doesn't work, we'll do it the hard way.
If we can do things the easy way, that's fine. And if we have to do it the hard way, that's fine too.
Chemical weapons is a threat to the United States.
Fentanyl poses a chemical weapons threat to the United States.
Al-Qaeda terrorists inside Iraq.
Al-Qaeda of our hemisphere.
If we can get rid of Saddam, it could really begin to transform the region.
There's an opportunity to transform the entire region.
Bringing freedom and democracy.
Democracy and freedom
can serve as a beacon of hope.
Shock and awe.
So, saying the exact same thing. The story is always kind of the same. It's they have chemical weapons, terrorism of some kind. It has to be stopped. I know at least Venezuela's in the Western Hemisphere. At least it makes sense a little bit that America should be worried. You know, Iraq's in the Middle East. Regardless, like they said, transform the region and just. I mean, do we want to watch that again? I mean, literally everything they said was the exact same, and that's like 30 years apart. So 30 years apart, it's the same. It's the same exact narrative. That's what I'm saying. Because it's not about any of this. It's oil. They have oil. The U.S. wants it. First of all. Second of all, I think it's about control. I think Maduro is someone that does not answer to the world government, you could say. Although there's no official one government for the world, but you know, you have NATO and you know, Israel, America, kind of. I mean, you know, I don't want to get into it, but you get what I'm saying. And let's see, what's this one? Oh, yeah, we might want to save that one. Yeah, or no, just like he specifically said no new wars, right? Like that was one of his main campaign promises, besides the Epstein files, which also didn't happen, or just a big ordeal. But no new wars was like the big thing. And, he's the president of peace, but we've bombed Iran, bombed Venezuela, literally kidnapped a foreign president and his wife. And you say no new wars, but we're still sending billions of dollars in aid to Israel and Ukraine. So I think if you're sending aid to wars, then I would consider that being at least complicit. You're a part of the war. So just something to think about. Oh, and this is a little unrelated, guys, but I think we should all see this. Rampant. Oh, wait, I don't know if we can show that on YouTube, but rampant CP sharing discovered on Department of Defense computers, hundreds of employees implicated. So the actual government, here, let's slide on that, see what we got. Report of investigation, several individuals under Project Flickr. And see, you know how they redact these people? They're redacting predators. Hold on. 52 subjects have been titled. So I guess these guys didn't make the protection cut, but these 4 right here are predators that have CP on their computers at the Department of Defense, and they are redacted, protected from the public view. They don't want us to know who those people are, and why is that? Why shouldn't we know? Because these people they're doing this to cover up the files. Yes, partially yes, they're doing this to cover up the files. But one thing I will say, nobody was really doing anything about the files anyway, and that's what kind of pisses me off. Because yes, maybe if it was the only thing in the limelight for long enough, something might actually happen. But we've all just accepted that there are predators and PDF files and truly evil people that run our country almost all across the board, right? And there's been enough deception or misdirection to where like the whole story of the Epstein files. Trump was like, when I get elected, I'm going to release the files, and then when he gets elected, the files are on my desk, Pam Bondi says, so we're all ready for them. They're on my desk. They're going to be anytime now, And then next thing you know, they're saying the files aren't real. No one cares about Epstein, blah, blah, blah. Then they are real, but it's only Democrats. But and then freaking, it was like lie after lie after lie, bringing confusion, and that's the what is the motto of the Mossad? Or is it the IDF? Hold on. Mossad motto. Yeah. By way of deception, thou shalt do war. By way of deception, thou shalt do war. So, lies and deceit and trickery. And I guess the current motto is, without deception, a nation falls. And Mossad is basically the CIA, but honestly, it's considered to be possibly more powerful. But regardless, yeah. Think about, I kind of want to keep a list of all the shit that's happened, right? It's only January 3rd. But forget the New Year type deal. We got Epstein files. Right after that, we got Somalian daycares, which are, that's $8 billion missing. Since 2019, billions of dollars gone missing. And the government knew about it, didn't do anything about it, so that's also part of the problem. But regardless, Somalian daycares, then this, it's easy to forget because I already feel like I'm forgetting something because it's just shit after shit after shit, just more just shoved down our throats. And I feel like we need to keep a list for real. I might even I might even start writing it down right now. It's crazy. But yeah, you're partially right. They're doing this to cover up the files. Yeah, but also they're doing it for oil and control, and because Venezuela isn't with the world banking system with the Rothschilds and all that. They're not about that. They have a centralized state-owned bank, and you know, people in power probably just wanted them gone and a regime change. So there's multiple reasons for everything. But yeah, definitely the news and the way everything's been portrayed and just story after story. Yeah, they're definitely doing it to cover up the files. Back to this. Okay. Yeah, so Congress's role is unknown according to Fox, which you know how that goes. We are reading Fox News right now, guys, so just, you know, take it with a grain of salt. News broke of U.S. military strikes. Texas officials on the Republican side of the aisle generally agree that Maduro is an illegitimate leader. Okay, why is Maduro an illegitimate leader? Let's look it up. Oh, Ted Cruz, of course. He's one of the first to share an official statement. All right, let's see what Ted Cruz has to say. Maduro facilitated, enabled, and profited from flooding of the United States with drugs that injured and killed hundreds of thousands of Americans. Removing him from power will save countless lives and serve as a warning to all others targeting Americans. And I'm not going to sit here and act like fentanyl isn't a bad thing. Like, it definitely is, and it's definitely something to look out for. But is it... If it was about fentanyl and only fentanyl, we wouldn't be going in to steal the oil, you know? And it's not a punitive thing either. We're not stealing their oil to punish them. We're stealing their oil because we want it, because that's money, you know? And they're framing this as the people of Venezuela are liberated, and maybe they are, but it's not our place. Is Venezuela a territory? I don't think so. Territory. Oh, that's not what I looked up at all. Yeah, it's an independent sovereign country. And the United States has recognized its independence since the 1830s. Okay, yeah, look at this recent news right here. Hold on, let me get to show more. Recent news as of January 3rd, 2026 indicates that the U.S. has conducted military operations in Venezuela and has stated it will run the country temporarily until a transition of power can take place following the capture of Nicolas Maduro. However, this is a very recent and ongoing event and does not represent a formal permanent change in sovereignty or Venezuela's status as a nation. Now, of course that's true. They're still going to be a nation, but now they're under control. I want to look up how many regime changes has the CIA been involved in. Ooh, yeah. Let's see if we can find something that's not on Wikipedia. Yeah, here we go. All right. The CIA, as part of broader U.S. efforts, has been involved in numerous regime change attempts, with counts varying by definition, but estimates suggest dozens of covert interventions, notably during the Cold War, Iran 1953, Guatemala 1954, Chile 1973, resulting in both successes and failures, often leading to instability or worse outcomes in targeted nations, highlighting a pattern of foreign intervention in government affairs. Cold War efforts. From 1947 to 1989, the U.S. attempted to change foreign governments 72 times, including 66 covert operations, with many involving the CIA. In Latin America, Guatemala, Brazil, Chile, Panama, that's documented. A significant joint U.S.-UK operation helped overthrow Prime Minister Mossadegh. I probably pronounced it wrong. You know, and then Cuba, Fidel Castro. Fidel Castro's kind of a cool story because they tried to kill him like 13 times. They did my boy like 50 Cent, and he just did not die. He eventually died of old age when he wanted to, which is pretty cool. And then Indonesia, you know, they would supported some guy's rise against another guy, you know. Around 26 out of 66 efforts succeeded, while 40 failed. Election interference being a relatively successful tactic. So focus on that last part right there. Election interference being a relatively successful tactic. So for years, since the Cold War, since 1947, they have practiced election interference with foreign countries, interfering with their elections, meaning votes don't count right and it's corrupt, right? So election interference is not something that's impossible to happen here either. In fact, the CIA, which is an unconstitutional regime, is pretty good at election interference. So something to think about. And I mean, 72, so this is something that happens all the time. And they said it themselves, they want a regime change. They think Maduro's bad. They don't like him. America doesn't like a Venezuelan president. So we're going to, as our, you know, because we're the world superpower, we're just going to go change the regime, right? And this one's a little less covert. It's more like, so more like what happened with Gaddafi and shit like that. Because now this is more acting in wartime. And during the Cold War, it was more like hush hush. But still, it's the same thing. It's a regime change. Yeah. So that's what we're dealing with there. Back to this. Oh yeah, but let's see. So they say that he's just brought fentanyl, and yeah, like that's not the only reason. If it was, there'd be a much different way of going about things. I applaud President Trump, blah blah blah. Look at that face, dude. Just pisses me off. Senator John Cornyn also voiced his support, giving Trump kudos. Not only an illegitimate president, he was the head of the cartel, a major drug trafficking network involving high-ranking Venezuelan. So yeah, see, their whole reasoning is just drugs, right? And if we were stricter about, like, you know, there are drugs in America because the government wants drugs in America. Since Reagan, the war on drugs, they would let drugs into America to destroy communities, you know? So, and it's also just, there's drugs in here. Now we have a right to do whatever we want. You know what I mean? That's kind of what's going on. Now, I feel like I'm giving too much of my opinion. Let's read what the mainstream media has to say. Although I'm probably going to see something and have to say something. If you see something, say something. You know what I mean? He has been indicted in the Southern District of New York for narco-terrorism. See, but he's not a citizen of New York, and he's not an American citizen. New York is an international court now. You know what I mean? Like, it makes no sense. His association with the Iranian regime, and you know, we hate Iran because they don't like Israel. So, you know, you support Iran, you're an enemy of us, right? Complicit with the ghost fleets of Russia, Iran, and China used to evade U.S. sanctions and fund the Russian war on Ukraine. So it's okay. See, but we're funding the Ukraine side of things. So none of us should have a say, right? We're all picking sides, and that's how the world war starts. You know, when you're picking sides, and then, you know, you piss enough. You're America, you're supporting whoever, and you piss off another world power that's supporting the other world power. Next thing you know, you're at war. Or it ends up, really, the Cold War never really ended, because, I mean, we're doing it right now. This is textbook Cold War. We're funding proxy wars. Texas Democrats. Jasmine Crockett calling the administration feckless. Now, guys, don't call me stupid, but I gotta look up what feckless means. Yeah, I don't know everything. Feckless. Definition. Good word. Lacking initiative or strength of character, irresponsible. Might have to start using that one. Thanks, Senator Crockett. Or Representative Crockett, not sure. Let's see. Alright. Jasmine Crockett, feckless. This is when we see who is serious about their oath and who isn't. This president continues to exceed his powers because Republicans care more about a pat on the head than they do being patriots. Our troops, our land, our citizens, and our standing in the world are all being put at risk. If Republicans are so supportive of his acts, then he could have come to Congress for approval. But he's been allowed to unconstitutionally grab immigrants, then U.S. citizens off the streets, because too many people continue to pretend like this is nothing more than a game. And I will say this. Usually, at least in the recent history, when a Republican is in office, the Democrats are usually right about things. Not always, but about things like this, like major world events, like she's totally right. She's totally right, because the truth is this is going to lead to war most likely, and I don't guarantee, but Iran's probably next again, and it's going to lead to military action, and maybe not on the homeland, but and also she's right about unconstitutional power. Trump has gone so far undermining checks and balances, right? We're supposed to have it's three groups. You have the executive branch, which is the president, the legislative branch, which is Congress and the Senate, and the judicial branch, which is the Supreme Court. And they're all supposed to keep each other in check. But throughout the years, presidents have created the CIA, created the DEA, created the, what's it called? ATF, alcohol, tobacco, and firearms, and all that, and just all these different 3 or 4 letter organizations that are completely unconstitutional. They have too much power. They're not able to be checked by government, and there should not. It's unconstitutional to have these federal organizations or federal authorities. We're supposed to have the least amount of federal power as possible, at least according to the Constitution. Now, but when a Democrat's in office, like we saw with Biden, Biden did a lot of messed up stuff too. And like once again, the war in Ukraine, and just, and then of course the Republicans were right then. And so what it kind of is I don't want to say it's a big conspiracy, but it really does seem like, it's just keeping the left and right alive. It's saying the right's wrong, the left is right, then the left is wrong, or I guess correct, I should say, instead of saying the right is right, the left is right. So that's kind of what we got going on right now. And it does kind of feel like it's nothing more than a game to these people. And this is her. Let's see. Rep. Mark Veazey. Another Dallas area Democrat, split the aisle with his statement, agreeing with Republicans that Maduro needs to be held accountable, but that Trump's call was out of line. Nicolas Maduro is a brutal dictator whose regime has terrorized the Venezuelan people for years. His corruption, violence, and repression have inflicted immense suffering, and he must be held accountable. But President Trump does not have the authority to unilaterally launch military action without congressional authorization. Yet, once again, Donald Trump chose to sidestep Congress entirely. And, how does he get away with this? Because we allow it, right? And do the ends justify the means? That's something I think we all need to really think about. Because even if you think that the ends here are good, does that justify the means, which is completely bypassing our entire system and how we're supposed to do things? And it's a slippery slope. Because what I was thinking about earlier is what it probably is going to lead to is, right now you have Trump, who's just, and also even with Biden and Trump's first term, they get in, they sign a bunch of executive orders. And then we noticed when Biden got in, he signed a historical amount of executive orders. And then pretty sure Trump one-upped him on his second term and signed another historical. So it's just going back and forth, right? It's causing a lot of corruption. It's causing a lot of, it's not what America is supposed to be, It's something to think about. most members of Congress learned about the strike the same way the public did, through social media. Donald Trump must brief Congress immediately on its plans to prevent regional instability. Hold on. Oh. I don't know if you heard that, guys. It was good back pop. Donald Trump must brief Congress immediately on its plans to prevent regional instability and the legal authority under which this action was taken. The United States is a democracy governed by laws, not the whims of one man. And that's true. As of Saturday morning, it was not known whether there were deaths or injuries, whether additional military actions were planned, or who was exercising control of Venezuela's government. Hours after the strike, they announced that U.S. forces had captured Maduro and his wife and flown them out of Venezuela. So this is Maduro and his wife. Maduro's been along with his wife, captured. Yeah. We don't know where they were taken. They're just out of. That we know they're gonna face trial in New York, of all places. So they're probably in New York, but you know the White House did not respond yet to questions about where they were taken. The legal authority for the strike and whether Trump consulted Congress beforehand was not all immediately known. So yeah, I mean, pretty self-explanatory. Just Republicans like it because Daddy Trump did something. You know, Daddy Trump's always right. And then Democrats don't like it for obvious reasons. It's going against the Constitution and the government. And, you know, this isn't me saying the left is correct because, you know, just a term ago, the same exact thing happened, just flipped. So, once again, it's not left versus right. It's us versus them. They're on the same team, and they're keeping us separated whenever we should all be on the same team, too. You know, that's my opinion, but, you know. Let's look up Venezuelan news. Venezuelan news. Still live? Let's see what's happening. Oh, this is nice. Just this video of the White House. This is what they're still live. No sound, no nothing, just footage of the White House. Nice. Oh, but right here. Oh. Check over here. Venezuela is not a major source of drugs like Trump claims. 56 minutes ago. All right, let's. Okay, this goes down. Yeah, this is like a series of events. So let's see. All right. Justin, Venezuelan vice president, says location of Maduro and wife is unknown. We demand proof of life. The streets of Caracas. Let's go through this. Can I click on it? Yeah. Okay. Armed individuals and uniformed. I know you guys can't see. 1 second. Armed individuals and uniformed members of a civilian militia took to the streets of a Caracas neighborhood, long considered a stronghold of the ruling party. But in other areas of the city, the streets remained empty hours after the attack. Parts of the city remained without power, but vehicles moved freely. Well, that doesn't give me too much, to be honest. I expected a little more. but yeah, so civilian militia, which is not a bad thing. You know, it didn't say a gang, so that's good. Demands proof of life and have not gotten it, which is pretty sure that's against Geneva Conventions. Let's see. State Department urges Americans in Venezuela to shelter in place. What does Russia have to say? Russia calls U.S. action an act of armed aggression. Russia's foreign ministry condemned what it called a U.S. act of armed aggression against Venezuela in a statement. Venezuela must be guaranteed the right to determine its own destiny without any destructive, let alone military, outside intervention. Which is true. Now, obviously, people will bring up the whole Ukraine thing and how that might make Russia hypocritical. But I guess the difference is that Ukraine used to be a part of Russia, so that's the whole thing. Like, that's the whole conflict. But Venezuela was never a part of America. Pretty sure. I mean, I can Google it real quick, but I don't think so. Yeah, never. Yeah, never. Why did it do that? You'll see that jump right there, how it just jumped. Later. But yeah, it's true. Venezuela's an independent country. There should be no outside intervention for a regime change or anything. And it's proven by the CIA 40 failed attempts. And just, we wonder why everyone hates America, because we're in everyone else's business, and we've caused mass instability in the Middle East, in South America. Those are the main areas, because those are the, I don't know why, but yeah, those are the main areas where we have just decided, oh, we don't like this president here. We're going to regime change him, you know, or have him assassinated. That happens a lot too, you know, and happens on the homeland too, JFK, stuff like that. But, you know, so that's kind of what we're dealing with here. And Russia's right. There should be no military action, no matter what. And if it really is true that they're bringing in fentanyl, which I'm pretty sure it brought up, 56 minutes ago, Venezuela is not a major source of drugs, according to AP News. So, yeah, we'll check that out. But let's keep scrolling through the timeline. Colombia prepares to receive refugees from Venezuela. Who's in charge of Venezuela? Technically, the vice president, but I think America's taking it. Maduro will face criminal charges in the U.S. Senator Lee says Rubio briefed him that Maduro will be tried in U.S. Rubio told him he anticipates no further action in Venezuela. State Department officials say the tyrant is gone. We got a tyrant right now, guys. We got someone who does not care about the Constitution, someone who is doing things that are against the law, and everybody's cool with it because apparently the ends justify the means. That's a tyrant believes the ends justify the means. That's definition. U.S. indicted Maduro on narco terrorism. Maduro and wife to face criminal charges. Yeah, what did the wife do is my question. What did Maduro's wife do? Why is she getting kidnapped too? Apparently she's a powerful political figure in her own right, former lawmaker and attorney general, known for her significant influence within Venezuela's ruling party. Okay, so I guess that makes sense. Venezuelan opposition leader Machado's spokespeople declined comment. Let's read about this lady. Who is Maria Corina Machado? It sounds like she's the one who's against Maduro. Okay, former deputy of the National Assembly of Venezuela. That's what she looks like. She has run as a candidate in presidential elections. She was a member of the National Assembly. Machado lacks support, doesn't have support or respect to run Venezuela. Why did she get the Nobel Peace Prize? Decades-long nonviolent struggle for democracy in Venezuela, keeping the flame of freedom alive against Nicolas Maduro's authoritarian rule, promoting civic engagement, and leading the opposition's fight for fair elections and human rights. So that's possibly true too. I'm always very skeptical of who they want us to like and who they want us to hate. You know what I mean? And I think you should be, you should be skeptical no matter what. But what I'm seeing, she does look legit, like a Venezuelan Gandhi of some type. But yeah, so just wanted to do some learning there. All right, let's go back. So yeah, she's the opposition. She's I mean, what it's looking like is, I mean, although it says Trump thinks she doesn't have support or respect, it does seem like she's probably gonna be the regime change or someone like her. No, she's right wing. Staunch opposition to socialism, advocacy for free markets, privatization, like the state oil company. Okay, so yeah, okay. Well, there's something. She wants to privatize their oil, which basically means sell it all off. Oil is something that the state shouldn't own all of it. Like, just because, say you find oil in your backyard, the state takes it. Which, by the way, the government does the same thing, like the U.S. government. They're just different about it. They're gonna give you some money for it, which is good. But regardless, you can't keep your oil, So privatization, like the state oil company, yeah. So that is some. She might be the regime change, guys. If they're going for the oil like that, then that's how they do it. But there's other people too. But yeah, we'll see. Federal presidential republic under an authoritarian dictatorship. Also, guys, dictatorship would never work in America, right? We are a democracy. It's just how things are. It would never work. But you have to look at someone like Julius Caesar. What did he forcibly take power, or did the people want him there because he was good, because he did good things? And Julius Caesar was assassinated after he outlawed usury, which is interest. Which is weird because he was assassinated by the senators who were paid, they liked usury because it made them money. So that's a side of the story you don't hear a lot. I just think everybody should know that. And a lot of dictators throughout history, they were there because the people wanted them there. The only exception really is communism. Like Stalin wasn't there because people wanted him there, or not the people. Stalin was there, evil, and killed a lot of people, especially Christians. Regardless, so communism is like the only exception for that. But it's just something to think about. Like, people, they say dictatorship like it's such a bad thing. In America, yeah, it would be. We've never had a dictatorship, and we never will. Or I hope not. That's just not what we are. But in other countries that aren't, we're not freedom, democracy. Other countries aren't like that, and I think a dictatorship could be okay. Regardless, it's not our position to determine what a country with a completely different culture, completely different government, just everything. It's not our place to decide what they do for them, Okay. Okay. Oh yeah, and they declined comment. And that's at 6:42 a.m. So while most people are sleeping, more and more stuff's happening. Reactions in Caracas to U.S. strikes and Maduro's capture are mixed. A pro-Maduro protest in the capital, Caracas mayor demanded that Maduro be returned immediately. Maduro, hold on, the people are rising up. They said, "We are here, Nicolas Maduro. If you can hear us, we are here." How do I feel? Scared like everyone who sat out on an empty avenue looking down at his phone. Venezuelans woke up scared. Many families couldn't sleep. I've been on the street. I just got back from Morocco. Everything is blocked. Everything is bad, very bad. They impose the law. They are the police. Oh, speaking about the U.S. government, they impose the law. They are the police of the world. They are assassins. That's what everybody thinks about us because this is what we do. This is what our government does. This is what the CIA does. We are the terrorists. I don't know how else to say it. We are the terrorists. This it's not our place. This is what's happening. And right there, so this is AP News, right? Which I'm not even sure if it's left or right. In situations like this, I don't even think it matters too much if it's left or right. Not everyone in Venezuela. Maduro clearly wasn't 100% popular, right? But he also wasn't 100% hated either. There's plenty of people that liked him. And an electrician, Alfonso Valdez, and even if he didn't like Maduro, it doesn't actually say, but he agrees, the U.S. government is assassins, terrorists. They impose the law, police of the world. We had no right. No right. But yeah, so that's important because the message the White House keeps saying is that Maduro was a horrible leader. People of Venezuela are cheering and happy that he's gone. But clearly that's not the case. Clearly there's some nuance to it. European leaders react to Maduro's capture by the U.S. I'm just going to scan through this one. Spanish Prime Minister called for the de-escalation. Russian's foreign ministry says extremely alarmed and called for immediate clarification. British Prime Minister, UK was not involved. Without condemning U.S. action, but he says he thinks international law should be upheld. Let's establish the fact. Yeah, whatever. Stupid. Celebrations erupt in Venezuelan community in South Florida. So, Venezuelan Americans are happy that Maduro's gone. They don't live under Maduro. Venezuelans in Venezuela were protesting to bring him back. So, there's something to think there, right? Found out Trump means what he says. Look at this little cocksucker. With his eyeliner and shit. Maduro was at his home when he was seized. U.S. deciding what's... Right here. U.S. now deciding what's next for Venezuela after Maduro capture. And quote, will be involved in it very much, says Trump. Regime change. So yeah, there's plenty of supporters too in Venezuela, you know. And that guy who said that America's assassins, it literally said he's an electrician. So he's a normal, everyday guy, and he supported Maduro, right? Yeah, U.S. will decide what's next. We'll be very involved in it. We can't take a chance in letting someone else run and just take over what he left or left off. Trump says he proposed to the Mexican president that U.S. take out cartels. Trump said the operation in Venezuela wasn't meant to be a message to Mexico, but then he has proposed to the Mexican president, Claudia Sheinbaum, we'll get into that in just a second, that the U.S. take out cartels in her country and suggested the U.S. might take action. We're very friendly with her. She's a good woman, but the cartels are running Mexico. She's not running Mexico. The cartels are running Mexico. He said he's asked Sheinbaum numerous times, would you like us to take out the cartels? But she has said no. Something's going to have to be done with Mexico, Trump said. So, you know, and I agree the cartels are a problem, you know, but let's not say that Sheinbaum's a good woman. Sheinbaum. So, Claudia Sheinbaum Pardo, right? She is the president of Mexico. What's kind of crazy is, let me look up, how many people died during the Sheinbaum election? Right, how many candidates? Excuse me. Okay. 21 assassinations. So this is Reuters. May 31st, 2024. Mexico's election is now the bloodiest in its modern history after a candidate taking the number of assassinated candidates to 37. So 37 assassinations, and now Miss Scheinbaum is president. Now, guys, I don't want to say too much, but you know what type of name Scheinbaum is. Just think about that, and I want to show you a picture. Oh, it really has been removed from the internet. Let's see, posture. Oh, there you go. So there's that, right? That's the posture of the president of Mexico, right? And yeah, that's really not too important. But that's, oh wait, you guys didn't even see. Let me show you guys for sure. Make sure you guys see this. That's the posture. You see a nice big curve there. And that's really not saying much. That's me kind of just being honestly rude, and I shouldn't, but you know. Scheinbaum. Oh, and right here, will Mexico's Claudia Scheinbaum, a Jewish woman, blaze a trail or follow one? 37 candidates had to be eliminated. So let's just remember that, right? And Trump says she's a, quote, good woman. Trump dismisses criticism. He did not seek congressional permission for Venezuela's strike. Trump brushed off. He said the operation was really genius. All they do is complain. They should say, great job. They shouldn't say, oh, gee, maybe it's not constitutional. Calling his Democratic critics weak, stupid people. That's what we're dealing with right now. FAA imposes airspace restriction on Puerto Rico. So just, you know, more control. Trump says a helicopter was hit and a few U.S. members were injured in Venezuela. A couple of guys were hit, but they came back and they're supposed to be in pretty good shape. U.S. lost no aircraft. We got it all back. One of them was hit pretty hard, but we got it back. We had to do it because it's a war. So even Trump is admitting this is a war. A war on fentanyl, whatever they want to call it. It's a war. We're fighting another country actively. So this was the first step, but that is what's happening. China slams U.S. strike. Honestly, bro, China's been kind of based recently. You know, they're calling out Israel. I mean, they're calling this out, which is, I mean, definitely violate international law and Venezuela's sovereignty and threaten the peace and security in Latin America and the Caribbean region. That's pretty based, China. Pretty based. UN is deeply alarmed by the U.S. strike. So notice how Israel's kind of been, the United Nations and NATO has been kind of against Israel because of these war crimes that they're doing in Palestine and just everything that's happening. And there was like one country that voted in support of Israel during the United Nations meeting, and that was America. And now it seems that America is getting on the bad side too. I mean, for a good reason. Here's the indictment. For over 25 years, leaders of Venezuela have abused their positions of public trust and corrupted once legitimate institutions to import tons of cocaine into the U.S. Maduro, the defendant, is the forefront of that corruption and has partnered with his co-conspirators to use his illegally obtained authority and the institutions he corroded, sorry, my back hurts, to transport thousands of tons of cocaine to the United States. Sits atop a corrupt, illegitimate government that has for decades leveraged government power to protect and promote illegal activity, including drug trafficking. So the indictment very clearly says this is all about narco-terrorism. It's all about fentanyl and I guess cocaine too, because this has been going on for a long time. Obviously these things are, this is 25 pages, so we're scanning through it. That's the main thing. And like we said just a second ago, Venezuela is not a major source of drugs like Trump claims, according to AP News. And we're going to get to that. I know I keep just making sure you guys remember, but here's what the indictment says. Leading a corrupt, yeah, I already kind of read it, dog. 250 tons apparently were trafficked through Venezuela by 2020. Some of the most violent, prolific drug traffickers and narco-terrorists in the world. I would say the Mexican cartel is much worse, but because Trump's cool with Scheinbaum, we're worried about Venezuela. We shouldn't, that's also part of the reason why we gotta have some sort of like border closing, because we wonder where all this fentanyl is coming from. It's not coming from Venezuela, these drugs, unless you are letting the ships in and you know about it, then it would be. But it's mostly, if you want to say that you don't know about drugs coming in and that you're complicit, or you're not complicit, then it's coming from the open border, right? From people coming in through Mexico. So Mexico would be the issue. But we're not worried about Mexico right now. We're not doing anything in Mexico. We're doing stuff in Venezuela. What's the deal with that? Because it's not about drugs. It's about oil. Aftermath of U.S. strikes. Bombed buses with shattered windows, dotted with shrapnel. Fallen streetlights, chunks of nearby trees littered the streets. Hefty metal fences and signs were bent at sharp angles. The attack lasted less than 30 minutes, and the explosions, at least 7 blasts, sent people rushing into the streets. Trump's action against Maduro contrasts with clemency granted to ex-Honduras leader. Yeah, let's look at that. So he granted clemency to former Honduran President Juan Orlando Hernandez. Trump in December pardoned Hernandez, though he was sentenced to 45 years in U.S. prison for helping drug traffickers to safely move hundreds of tons of cocaine north through his country to the U.S. Hernandez, who enjoyed support from officials in the first Trump administration, was convicted by a U.S. jury in New York, which Maduro was now set to face. When asked in an interview with Politico about the pardon, Trump said, "I don't know him and I know very little about him," but added that he was told that Hernandez was set up. So you were told that Hernandez was set up. By who? So basically, who wanted you to release him? Who wanted you to grant him clemency? The country. Oh, and I'm glad that, it's funny, they added that, you see that? The country, the country, deals in drugs. Like, probably, you could say, that was a good impression. Dude, that was a good impression. Dude, I don't know why it keeps doing that, scrolling off of where I'm at on its own. The country deals in drugs, like, probably you could say that about every country. And because he was the president, they gave him like 45 years in prison. Dude, what the hell? Dude, this shit's a joke. Deliver an address. Yeah. He spoke to Maduro as recently as last week. Maduro denied that, saying he had only spoken to Trump in November. Trump shares photo of captured Maduro wearing a sweatsuit and blindfold with the caption, "Nicolas Maduro on board the USS Iwo Jima." Trump press conference underway. So, at least as of today, there's no sign in the Venezuelan capital that the U.S. has taken over. Which is good. Miraflores Palace and military bases remain guarded by Venezuela's armed forces. So, at least we don't have soldiers in there keeping the peace, right? Keeping the peace. Trump said, but right here, Trump says, U.S. is going to run Venezuela until transition of power. But there are no visible signs the U.S. is controlling the country. So, basically saying the same thing over and over again here. Trump invokes doctrine of U.S. dominance in Western Hemisphere. Yeah, so the Monroe Doctrine has been used to justify interventions in Latin America for quite some time now. Apparently, he calls it the Don Road Doctrine. American dominance in the Western Hemisphere will never be questioned again. So, I mean, you know, maybe you agree with the Monroe Doctrine. Maybe you don't. Maybe you don't even know what it is. But do you think that we should be involved in other countries, in other governments, just because they're close to us? I feel like the less we involve ourselves with other people, the better, you know, personally. But just something to say. So that's his excuse for breaking the Constitution and everything. Even though during the Monroe Doctrine, I'm pretty sure he's like President Monroe still had to go through the Congress, you know. Venezuela. Okay, right here. Venezuela is not a major source of drugs like Trump claims, by Megan Janetsky. Trump has repeatedly claimed without evidence that boats have been carrying drugs into the U.S. from Venezuela. But in fact, Venezuela is not a major source of drugs to the U.S. There is no evidence to suggest fentanyl comes, almost said Venezuela. Fentanyl comes from Venezuela. Rather, the vast majority of fentanyl that flows into the U.S. is transported in through Mexico, like I said, and often produced from precursor chemicals coming from Asia. Yeah, everybody knows Asia created fentanyl. That was like a big thing. Everyone was talking about that during COVID. While a number of illegal armed groups are present in Venezuela, much of the cocaine flowing out from Venezuela is produced in Colombia and other Andean nations. The Caribbean is often used as a jumping off point for drug traffickers to smuggle their product to the European market. So yeah, right there, I mean. And 2 minutes ago, Schumer says Trump actions in Venezuela reckless. Oh yeah, Schumer's always got a lot to say. Clearly they're not being straight with Americans. State Department mom. But yeah, so in the indictment and everything, the whole reason for this whole thing that they want us to believe is that Venezuela is a major source of drugs and that they're bringing ships. There's no evidence. And like I said earlier, like I predicted, but like I said earlier, Mexico is the problem, right? But because Trump thinks Scheinbaum's a good woman, and you know, so it's different. He did say something's gonna have to be done, but you know, Mexico is the problem, not the secondary problem, you know. And also, I just think close the border. Don't involve ourselves in other countries. Just close the border. Don't let people in without doing it the right way. You know, don't let people walk in and out. That's how drugs get in. It's very simple. Everyone's known this for like decades. This is how it's been. And Asia is the biggest, you know, they made fentanyl. So there you go. Majority of drugs coming from the Mexican cartel. Fentanyl, probably, you know, Mexican cartel buys it from Asia too, but fentanyl does not come from Venezuela. I thought that was weird when I read that. State Department mom on how U.S. would run Venezuela. Didn't answer, whatever. U.S. plans to sell Venezuelan oil to other countries. Yeah, so we're taking all their oil and we're going to sell all of it. It won't cost us anything to run Venezuela. And that's crazy. When asked what would happen if the U.S. ends up administering Venezuela for years, Trump suggested that the U.S. would use revenues from oil sales to pay for running the country, saying, damn it, why does it keep doing that? Y'all see what I'm talking about? Saying the money coming out of the ground is very substantial. So they're going to steal all the oil from Venezuelan soil and use that and sell it to oil companies around the world to pay for running the country, and I quote. And this guy freaking, he was at that news conference we watched. He was just we got in too late, but we're not afraid of boots on the ground. So probably going to happen. We're going to make sure the country is run properly. According to who, you know? This is textbook. Should not, I mean, just another violation. Kind of getting depressed now, guys. little bit. Venezuela's UN ambassador says his country has the right to self-defense, which is true. But this is what I'm saying. Either, maybe it's just another regime change, another just, blatant disrespect of international law by the CIA and President Trump and all this, but maybe it might end up to be another war. It's going to end up, Venezuela is going to fight back. Then people are going to pick sides. Probably, and then the other. So there's like that makes three conflicts. You have Russia, Ukraine, Israel, Palestine, and now what's looking to, if this takes off the way I think it is, America, Venezuela. And if you remember in both the other world wars, it was stuff like that. Multiple conflicts around the world that became, people started taking sides, and eventually it became like this group versus, well, at least in World War II, it was Allies and Axis. World War I was a little more chaotic. But regardless, people are going to take sides, and the whole world's going to end up fighting. This isn't a prediction, but I think it's very likely. Prepare for war in 2026, basically. More than 150 aircraft from 20 different bases were involved. Oh yeah, and freaking Pete Hegseth, he literally said Maduro effed around and found out, which is just trying to, I guess, use Gen Z lingo or whatever. But I mean, you're a freaking war secretary. You should be a professional. Shouldn't be. I mean, even though he didn't curse, he's, saying the curse without saying it. It's just unprofessional, gross. Vice President J.D. Vance did not appear in Florida. Who cares? Cuban president condemns a U.S. attack. Rubio hints. That's a funny look. Cuban president condemns U.S. attack on Venezuela. Warned that Latin America is not the backyard where the United States does it as it pleases, which is true. It shouldn't be. The attack on Venezuela shatters the stability that has characterized our region for years, the president said during a rally that drew thousands of people in Havana. According to the Cuban leader, the attack is not intended to end drug trafficking, for which no evidence implicating Maduro was presented, but rather to seize Venezuela's oil and natural resources through an act of state terrorism, which he likened to the Israeli attack on Gaza. Damn, is the Cuban president based? I need a soundboard so bad. That's why I go, bow, 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 bow. Is the Cuban president based? It sounds pretty based. And then the very next story, Marco Rubio hints Cuba could be next after Trump takes Maduro out of Venezuela. The Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, is hinting that Cuba could be the next target. Rubio said he would be a bit concerned if he were a Cuban government official following the overnight U.S. military operation in Venezuela. If I lived in Havana and I was in the government, I'd be concerned at least a little bit. Caracas resident, terrified family took shelter during early morning U.S. attack. So yeah, they said during the press conference, they were like, yeah, guys, they were like, we planned this for months, and we made sure like no civilians would be targeted or harmed. Like this is like, they were really sucking their own dick. I'm gonna be honest, guys. Like, we're the best in the world, blah blah. This is American strength, and whatever. Peace through strength, and really sucking their own dick. And I mean, this right here proves, first of all the videos of the bomb strikes that we have seen from like social media and stuff are from Venezuelan citizens that saw it, that are close. So like, Venezuelan citizens were in harm's way. Did you really have to bomb? Hold on. Caracas resident terrified. Family took shelter. Also, who cares about Vance? Damn. Trump says U.S. officials such as Rubio, Hegseth, and Kaine will run Venezuela. Questions over legality. Venezuela's future uncertain. Yeah, this is bad. Crazy, guys, crazy. So yeah, that's all AP News has to say. That really took me out. I'm not gonna lie. Let's see if we got any more. Let's see, Venezuela. Let's just go to YouTube and look up Venezuela and see what happens. Because I'm about to check on the stream and let's see.
How long it takes a beginner like my dad to go from beer belly to get ripped again with Tai Chi.
How old is your father?
He is 56.
And sex changes and ban usury. You don't have credit cards with 40% interest in Venezuela. Okay. Ben Shapiro responded this way.
We saw Ben's response earlier. I guess I could play it one more time.
But he's made the point that Maduro is culturally conservative.
Who gives a shit? The guy's a communist dictator. Everyone is.
There you go. Yeah, they really don't care. Exactly what I said earlier. The social issues, it's so minuscule on the grand scale. Candace Owens says Venezuela has been liberated like Syria, Afghanistan, Iraq were liberated. The CIA has staged another hostile takeover of a country at the behest of a globalist psychopaths. That's it. That's what's happening. Always, everywhere. Zionists cheer every regime change. There's never been a single regime change that Zionists have not applauded because it means they get to steal land, oil, and other resources. Hope this helps. Yeah, spot on. Candace is right. Candace is completely right.
Hold on.
Yeah, I saw Ian Carroll was on Tucker Carlson. Congrats to my friend.
Hold on. Guys. So I have a buddy, right? And he just sent me... Let me show you the original picture first. So this is the original picture, right? It's on my Instagram. It's just me posing with a fish, right? That's the original picture. Now look at what I just got sent. Bomba clot. What the fuck? It looks so real too, bro. What the? That's crazy. I'm like it doesn't really. It's hard to tell with the screen glare, but like, it looks pretty real, and I don't know. Yeah. So AI is getting scary. And that's something small, you know what I mean? But like that's just, you know, a friend messing around with a friend or whatever. But like how real that looked, that could some serious shit's gonna go down in the future. You know what I mean? Like you can make anyone look like they're doing anything. And like Will Smith was using AI crowds. We went over that last night. Just like, and also how much water, do you know how much water AI actually uses? It's drinking water too. .1, let's make sure you guys can see this. Yeah, 1.1 to 1.7 trillion gallons annually by 2027. So that's a prediction, but each 100-word AI prompt is estimated to use roughly 1 bottle of water. Hundreds of billions of liters of waters in a single year, vastly exceeding the total amount of water consumed globally through bottled drinks. So, are we cool with that? Are we cool with our water supply being used by AI? And I don't know if it was the Palantir guy, but it was one of the AI guys, like CEOs, and he literally said, we need to drink less water to save water for AI, right? So you know, dude, I can't believe that. That's crazy. AI is starting to look really real, and really, it's making it so you can't trust anything you see. And I think one, it's going to lead to bad corruption, because also just the desensitization. We're already seeing it. So much stuff is happening that people just, you know, like, you just don't care. It's hard to care because nothing's changing. No one's going to do anything. That's why I really say it's time to get organized. It's time to, one, like Christian and I were talking about the other night, go to your local government, like your city council, and write letters to your representatives. And that's the peaceful solution. I really hope it works. But also, I think it's time to get organized with like-minded people, and you know, we need to as the people be organized, right? And my dream would be to have an organization where, you know, left and right and just everyone, we can all agree that we're citizens and we just want what's best for everyone, and we come up with a list, and you know, we need to have some sort of power. We can't continue to be divided, or else it's never going to change. We're gonna keep looking here for a second, but I think I'm gonna end it soon. I don't like streaming in the morning. I'm kind of freaking the screen, you know, it makes my eyes tired or whatever. But I mean, it's crazy. We're in war, you know. We we are in war with Venezuela. We attacked them. We captured their president and his wife, right? So just think about that. Like, are we cool with that? And if we're not cool with that, then what are we gonna do about it, right? What are you gonna do about it? That's basically what the government's been saying to us for like years now. Yeah, we did this. What are you gonna do about it? Little goy, little slave. What are you gonna do about it? You know, what are we gonna do about it? Get organized. Fucking talk to people. Fucking educate yourself. Read some books. Quit. Don't just play 2K. Don't just go to the bar every night and do drugs and shit. Fucking lock in. Sobriety. Do we want to have a country? Do we want to have a place for our children? We got to think about these things. One second, guys. Gotta text this fucker back. You stole water from a thirsty child to generate that image. So, real quick, this is a translated speech from Maduro. Now, I don't know if it's 100% true, but this is something that I saw, and it makes sense why Venezuela is enemy number one. So, let's watch it.
Esos judíos de las 12 tribus, que no son los que mandan hoy en
Alright, yeah, that's good. Sorry, guys, had to make sure it's in
Israel. Los que hoy gobiernan, Netanyahu no es judío auténtico. Él es un cambalache que viene por allá de...
Which is true. Netanyahu is from Poland. He's not ethnically Jewish. He has no relation to King Solomon or King David or Adam even. He's not in the bloodline at all. That entire group of people comes from Khazaria, which the Khazarian Empire used to be from Russia and was very powerful. Their king forgetting his name right now, but their king converted to Judaism, and so did they. And that's kind of where the whole who say they are Jews but they are not and lie. That was a prophecy in Revelation. That's what happened. So, real Jewish people are brown. Not black, I'm sure there are some, but brown. Relation. Middle Eastern, they're from... There's a reason why Israel has the highest skin cancer rate of all time. Or I'm pretty sure number 1, maybe number 2, but highest skin cancer rate because they're not from there, right?
Para los que les gusta hablar de religiones y dicen que esto es un conflicto religioso. No, esto no es un conflicto religioso. El conflicto que hay desde la fundación del Estado de Israel es un conflicto geopolítico, porque ese Estado lo crearon para conquistar todo el Medio Oriente y Asia Central y quitarle las riquezas y colonizar esos pueblos. Es el proyecto sionista que dicen que van desde el río Jordán hasta el Éufrates y más allá.
Yeah, so right there he was talking about the plan for Greater Israel, which everything he said was true. We have the plan for Greater Israel, which, what is that? The Euphrates, and basically this river to this river, and it spans 6 different countries. Libya, Yemen, maybe not Libya, but Yemen, Qatar, Turkey, I think. All the countries that they're attacking right now that are surrounding them, they're trying to take them over. And it's part of a Greater Israel project. The Ben Gurion Canal... I'm trying to talk about Venezuela here, but since Maduro brought it up, the Ben Gurion Canal is another thing. They are Somaliland, the Somalians, dude, it just goes so deep. And that's why the more we stay out of foreign anything, the better. The more we're just focusing on America, the better. Trump is not a president of peace. That's for sure. That's something that we can take from this, right? I feel like my shoulder's been out of place, guys. Oh, damn, son. Oh, that felt good. Yeah, so let's see. YouTube. No, YouTube. Let's just look up Venezuela. All right, check this out.
If you're a gun owner searching for the perfect gift for yourself or a loved one this holiday, then you're going to want to get this right here. This is the...
Muy buenos días al pueblo de Venezuela. Estamos acá en la ciudad capital, en Caracas, luego de haber hecho una evaluación de los daños causados por el ataque criminal, el ataque terrorista contra nuestro pueblo, contra el suelo patrio, contra las instalaciones.
Against our electrical facilities. So the bombs were to take down the grid then? Is that what it was?
Eléctrica, contra la revolución bolivariana y contra aquellos que inclusive no tienen nada que ver con la revolución bolivariana. Es un ataque contra Venezuela, contra la República Bolivariana de Venezuela. Las fuerzas militares, las fuerzas policiales, acá conmigo, un grupo de ellos, el pueblo, presto para cualquier situación, presto para cualquier hecho que pretenda y la tranquilidad de nuestro país. Y
okay, that one wasn't as good as I thought it would be, but that is what the people think. And here's this one.
The United States hit Venezuela with a large-scale strike early Saturday, and said its president, Nicolas Maduro, had been captured and...
Sounds like friggin' massive fireworks. Did you hear that? It's like, doo, 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 doo. Look at that. Look at that. That's crazy.
...out of the country. Here's what to know. Multiple explosions and low-flying aircraft were seen in Caracas in the early hours of Saturday morning. Maduro's government immediately accused the US of an imperialist attack on civilian and military installations. US President Donald Trump posted on Truth...
The United States of America has successfully carried out a large-scale strike against Venezuela and its leader, President Nicolas Maduro, who has been, along with his wife, captured and flown out of the country. This operation was done in conjunction with U.S. law enforcement. Details to follow. There will be a news conference today.
That Maduro had been, along with his wife, captured and flown out of the country. He added that the operation was done in conjunction with US law enforcement. The apparent attack itself lasted less than 30 minutes. Trump said in his social media post that the strike was carried out successfully. It comes after the Trump administration has escalated pressure on Maduro, who has decried US military operations against alleged drug traffickers as a thinly veiled effort to oust him from power. It was not immediately clear who was running the country, and Maduro's whereabouts were not immediately known.
So, yeah. So, one thing you guys should take from this, there's no evidence to support Maduro being a drug trafficker, or really, it seems like that's all they have against him. You think they would bring more up, but there's no evidence to suggest that, and what there is evidence to suggest is that the U.S. wants the oil, they want the control, and there is evidence to suggest that this is going to lead to a big war. So, stay educated about this matter, continue to research, and let's. I mean, I know it's hard, but let's try to hold our politicians accountable. Let's not just roll over and die on this, right? This should be remembered in the same held in the same regard as the Epstein files. How are we? God, every time I bring it up, how are we allowing this to happen? Trump is confirmed to be a PDF file to diddle kids, and he's our president, and we just let that happen. There's nothing happening at all. Like, people, like, no outrage. People are just cool with it. Most of our government too, including probably Chuck Schumer, who is the main Democrat opposition to Trump. We're just gonna allow this to happen? All these people, just, dude. I mean, just keep an eye out. Prepare for war, guys. God bless you all. Stay safe. I'm gonna end this here for now. We might come back tonight and there's a video I want to react to, but for now, yeah, we'll see you guys around. Stay informed, and try not to get too hopeless either. There's always hope. We gotta have hope, and for me at least, that hope is up above, Jesus Christ. So yeah, shout out our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. May He guide us through this awful time, and yeah, keep your heads up. Look out for your family and friends. And also, don't fall into a culture war. Most important thing. Don't fight other people because of culture. It's us versus them. Remember that.